When I was a child, there were things that happened to me, that were done to me, that led to me operating my life from the position that I and only I am to blame for the things inside me that I despise. Clearly, someone could only do those things to me if I were already inherently bad at a cellular level. And all the knowledge and understanding and kindness in the world will never ever change the fact that this is my truth. Always has been, always will be. Ask anyone who's been raped. If they say differently, they're lying. Well, no, but they can have, open door.
He was just 6 years old when he was raped by his part-time boxing coach at school. It would be 30 years before he would talk about it.
Do you think, beyond the terrible physical aspects, that the greatest thing that the survivor suffers is guilt?
Shame. Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing that lasts longer than any other for me. And certainly having spoken to a few people, it is that's the great legacy of it. Somehow, it was my fault. I was too pretty. I was too flirtatious. I brought it on myself. If only I hadn't. All of those, and that's that just carries on and on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a USR customer announcement for
James Rhodes isn't hiding anymore, and certainly not here at St Pancras Station.
Look, I've broken it. The D's stopped working.
He's now talking openly and to his audiences of what he calls child rape. He refers to it as the Everest of trauma. A trauma that for 10 long years prevented him ever playing a single note.
Do you remember it? I get asked a lot, aren't you really angry that this was allowed to go unchecked?
It was at his school near London's Regent's Park that he was stripped of his childhood. He was found by another teacher with blood running down his legs, crying and saying he didn't want to box anymore. She suspected something was wrong, but never imagined that he'd been sexually attacked.
There were so many signs I was displaying, so many symptoms, all the weird twitches and tics and bedwetting and OCD stuff and disappearing, often for hours on my own and losing time and dissociating, that nowadays we would be all over. But of course back then I think I was just considered a bit of a weird kid.
Backed by his close friend Benedict Cumberbatch, he'd had to fight through the courts to get his book released. His ex-wife had tried to stop it, saying it would have a detrimental effect on their child. He did finally win. Since the book has been published, he's been contacted by thousands of victims who are now willing to finally speak out. Are you happy?
Right now, yeah, I'm talking to Jon Snow in Regent's Park. I mean, come on, it doesn't get better than that. This is the same place I proposed to Hattie. And we're still married. She still bafflingly is into me. And yeah, I've got a book out. I mean, it took the Supreme Court to give me permission to do it, and it almost killed me, and it took 14 months and legal bills that are telephone numbers, but yeah.
So now he can talk about the sexual violence that drove him off the rails, drug and alcohol abuse, self-harming, contemplating suicide, and a mental breakdown that led him to being institutionalized. Today it is his Irish psychiatrist Billy who has made the difference.
He just looked at me the first time, and he looked at my notes, and he just took off his glasses, and he said, it's 50-50 if you're going to be here in a year. We both know that. Most people who've gone through it, half and they don't always make it out, and you know that, and I know that. But let's see if we can just boost your chances a little bit and get a little bit of wind behind you and see how we do. And it was the first time I just sat there and I thought, finally, like he gets it.
Music and therapy have been his redemption. He got a job as a music agent, which took him to Italy and to his future mentor, who discovered he could play. His decade of piano silence was finally broken. James meets often with other survivors of child and adult rape about speaking out and the therapeutic benefit of going public.
It's the first time I talked about it was with Survivors UK in London Bridge. The woman, she was so lovely. Like her face, it was so open and it all just came out. Totally despite myself. Wasn't expecting it. And that was when everything started to change, I think.
Do you know the thing that pisses me off more than anything is people saying that happened years ago.
I know exactly what you're
Shut
saying.
up and move on.
Absolutely.
As though somehow you can mentally
turn it off.
If
somebody goes out and they experience GBH or attempted murder or whatever, they're encouraged to talk about that for the rest of their lives. And there's no shame, there's no stigma, there's no guilt. For some peculiar reason, we have this issue to deal with and to tolerate.
Abuse generally takes place in secrecy. Recovery can only take place in community.
James Rhodes is unquestionably on his way, playing in London last week and starting a major concert tour in October. Of course, it will be his sumptuous piano playing, but it will also carry a message of redemption and genuine hope for the many survivors living on from what violated their childhoods. What's your ambition?
Oh, what a giant question. To be kind, to do what I can to help, and to give a succession of concerts that are good enough. To try and live up to the kind of level of integrity I know at some level I'm capable of. I think that's the best we could ever hope to get to.